Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books and marketing expert covering Disney. Disney deathmatch for hostile takeover goes nuclear. Let's get into the story. Before we do, please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate you guys. The priciest shareholder fight ever is headed to Disney's boardroom. More than $70 million could be spent in bid to win everyday investors' votes. Also from the Wall Street Journal, before there was Disney, there was Procter & Gamble. Procter & Gamble versus Nelson Peltz, the most expensive shareholder war ever. Individuals own 40% of Procter & Gamble shares, and the two sides have spent a combined $60 million to reach each shareholder. Peltz has a history of this. He's been involved in a lot of boardroom battles. He's not giving up. Here's what happened with Procter & Gamble from the Wall Street Journal. Activist investor Nelson Peltz elected to the Procter & Gamble board. Investor won proxy fight by slim 43,000 vote margin, according to preliminary report weeks after P&G had declared victory. And from CNBC, Wall Street loves Disney's kitchen sink quarter, but Nelson Peltz says he isn't backing down. A boardroom brawl at Walt Disney is expected to be the most expensive shareholder fight ever, and a chance for everyday investors to have a big impact. Two activist hedge funds, Nelson Peltz's Trian Fund Management and the smaller Blackwells Capital, are separately going toe-to-toe with Disney to gain spots on its board and challenge the strategy of Chief Executive Bob Iger. All in, the three parties could spend north of $70 million ahead of an April 3rd shareholder vote. They are already shelling out for slick marketing materials, social media blitzes, and the services of proxy solicitors, akin to campaign strategists who wrangle shareholder support for their clients' board candidates. One reason for the high price, the millions of individual investors who own an outsized portion of Disney's roughly 1.8 billion shares. They control over a third of Disney stock, more than is typical for a public company. Institutional investors such as BlackRock and Vanguard hold the rest, and their votes carry heft too. Getting the word out to such a widespread shareholder base is costly. In the case of Procter & Gamble, it was around 40% of the shares that were out with individual investors. In the case of Disney, it's over a third, but it's not 40%. So what happens at institutional investors is going to mean a lot. The cost could be much lower if the activists don't take their fights to a vote, either by settling with Disney or backing away. Trian called off its first proxy attempt at Disney last year. At the crux of the proxy fight is a disagreement over Disney's strategy and how to best nudge the company's stock price, which has been almost cut in half from its 2021 high. The company now has a market value of around $200 billion. Trian and the former Marvel executive Ike Perlmutter will have a combined stake valued at around $3.5 billion. The hedge fund has been urging shareholders to restore the magic at Disney, with a matching internet domain name making its case. It says the company needs to find a clear successor to Iger, make its streaming margins Netflix-like, and pull its studios out of a rut. It is running two candidates, including the 81-year-old Peltz, who holds board seats at other companies, including Unilever. Blackwells, which has a tiny stake valued at around $15 million, has suggested its three nominees could help explore a breakup of the company. And I don't really understand Blackwells, what they're trying to do. There is no chance that Disney would break up its company, even though if they broke it up, yes, they could get more value out of it. And I'm all for something like that, but it's not likely. Disney really doesn't do things like that. Disney has sought to appease shareholders with a series of announcements, including an investment in Fortnite maker Epic Games, plans to stream Taylor Swift's Eras Tour, which for the Eras Tour, apparently, according to Forbes, they're paying $75 million for the rights to. On Epic Games, they're putting $1.5 billion into an investment in Epic Games. They're spending a lot of money. They're also spending an absolute fortune on higher than expected dividends and also stock buybacks. That's an extra $6 billion they're spending. I've covered on this channel before that, yes, Disney has expenses, but they are not running out of money. They have their money pretty well organized over at Disney. They know how much money they can spend, and they just keep spending billions and billions of dollars. They have around $10 billion towards the purchase price of Hulu that they already paid out to Comcast. They're doing an additional $6 billion here in stock buybacks and additional dividends. They're spending $1.5 billion on their investment in Epic Games. It's like they print their own money over there. They have a lot of revenue coming in, so they are in a position to make all kinds of investments. Disney also just announced a partnership with Fox and Warner Bros. Discovery to launch a sports-focused streaming service. And that's not something that's likely to cost Disney a lot of money at all. Disney enlisted the help of cartoon character Professor Ludwig von Drake, Donald Duck's paternal uncle, in an animated video with a step-by-step voting guide. Peltz could top his own record. All in, the cost is expected to top that of Trian's 2017 clash with Procter & Gamble, currently the priciest proxy fight so far, with a price tag of $60 million. Peltz was ultimately given a seat on the board of the Crest toothpaste owner Procter & Gamble after the vote ended in a near tie. Disney expects its total expenses to be around $40 million, while Trian estimated it could be spending at least $25 million, according to regulatory filings from this month. Blackwells expects to spend around $6 million. Somehow Blackwells is spending $6 million to promote a $15 million investment they have. I still don't understand what Blackwells is really trying to do. Maybe they're getting attention out of it. Trian appears to be determined to press ahead with its current quest. After Disney shares surged more than 12% Thursday, following a better-than-expected earnings report and the unveiling of new initiatives, Trian doubled down. Quote, "It's deja vu all over again," they said. "We saw this movie last year and we didn't like the ending because Disney had announcements and they had a bounce in the stock price, and then Trian, Peltz's company, backed down and said, okay, we won't have a proxy fight, and then the stock went down. Now Disney again has announcements. They've planned things out. They announced this stock buyback. Their price went up. But where are they going to be a year from now?" That's Peltz's point, and he's absolutely right. In addition to being one of the highest profile proxy fights in years, the fight is captivating Wall Street advisors because it will be one of the first votes to put the newly implemented universal proxy card to the test. Shareholders historically either had to vote for a company's entire slate of directors or an activist. Universal cards list both sets of candidates in the same place, allowing shareholders to mix and match. They make it more likely an activist could claim a partial victory by winning at least one board seat. Working in Disney's favor is the fact that the smaller number of individual investors who bother to vote in proxy fights tend to support companies. Most individual investors just aren't paying attention, according to John Ferguson, a senior partner at Saratoga Proxy Consulting, which isn't involved in the Disney fight. Quote, "To do it right," Ferguson said, "this will definitely be the most expensive fight we've ever seen." From CNBC, Wall Street loves Disney's kitchen sink quarter, but Nelson Peltz says he isn't backing down. Disney made a string of announcements to excite investors. Nelson Peltz told CNBC in a statement he won't be backing away from his proxy fight. Disney announced its ESPN flagship streaming service will launch in August or the fall of 2025. Disney also said Taylor Swift's Eras Tour film will debut on Disney+. Disney shares jumped roughly 10% Thursday after the company posted earnings Wednesday and flooded the zone with new announcements meant not only to excite its employees and shareholders, but also to put activist investor Nelson Peltz in his place. Peltz has launched a proxy fight against Disney, asking investors to nominate him and former Disney Chief Financial Officer Jay Rasulo to replace current board members Michael Froman and Elena Lagomasino. Both Disney's higher profits and string of content and partnership announcements appear to form a direct rebuttal to Peltz's concern about the company. It's obvious, though, Bob Iger is still concerned about Peltz. Quote, "The last thing we need right now is to be distracted by an activist or activists that have a different agenda and don't understand our company," Disney Chief Executive Bob Iger told CNBC's Julia Bornstein in an interview on Wednesday. During the company's first quarter earnings conference call, he added, quote, "We've turned the corner and entered a new era." The question, though, is, what's the big deal? Why won't Bob Iger allow anyone who has any substantial amount of stock in Disney to be on the board of directors? They do have a point of view. There's no reason to not put someone like that on unless you don't want to give up control of whatever your agenda is because it doesn't favor shareholders' interests. Shareholders should have a say in the company. It's not Bob Iger's company, but he doesn't see things that way. Peltz, who first took a stake in Disney last year only to abandon and then renew his proxy fight threats, responded with a statement to CNBC that he won't be backing down this time. Disney did push out a slew of announcements this quarter. ESPN set a launch date for its direct-to-consumer service, August or fall of 2025. Disney is buying a $1.5 billion stake in Epic Games, the maker of Fortnite. It is Disney's biggest foray into the gaming space ever, Iger said to Bornstein. Disney upped its dividend by 50% versus the last dividend paid in January. Disney announced the sequel to Moana is coming to theaters in November of 2024, which will likely be the studio's biggest box office hit of the year. Disney is on track to meet or exceed its $7.5 billion targeted for spending cuts by the end of fiscal 2024. The company said it expects full-year fiscal 2024 earnings will increase at least 20% over 2023. All of these announcements came a day after Disney made more big news, revealing it's launching a joint venture with Warner Bros. Discovery and Fox to offer ESPN in a new skinny bundle of linear networks. It will be the first time cable cord cutters and cord nevers will have access to ESPN outside the traditional cable bundle. It's only logical that the mountain of announcements came this quarter, given the activist pressure from Trian and Blackwells Capital. Iger has a vested interest in beating back critics of his performance and strategy. Peltz has been vocal about bashing Iger's leadership as shares have slumped in the past year, underperforming the S&P 500. Trian has launched a website, restorethemagic.com, that claims Disney has not performed for shareholders. Quote, "It saddens me that the board didn't welcome me," Peltz said last month. "This company is just not being run properly." Iger said he hasn't spoken with Peltz recently and doesn't intend to speak with him. In a filing last month, Disney said, quote, "In deciding not to recommend Mr. Peltz, the directors considered a number of factors, including that in a 2-year quest for a seat on the Disney board, Mr. Peltz had not actually presented a single strategic idea for Disney." If anyone can beat Bob Iger, it's going to be Nelson Peltz. We're going to have to keep an eye on this, and I will continue to report this on my channel. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Always love to see your ideas. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another video. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.